First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Deepak Maurya, and I am going to be speaking to you about climate change. So, before starting our presentation, let me know that what is climate change. So, basically, a climate change is a change in global or a regional pattern. A climate change includes both human-induced global warming and its large-scale impact on weather pattern. To begin, climate change is important because, as said by the Obama, that there is one issue that will define the counters of this century more dramatically than any other, and that is the urgent threat of a changing climate. Now, in our presentation, what we are going to be cover is first of all is the introduction to the topic, second involving technology, third think green thoughts, and the last one is the some artificial intelligence based remedy to this problem. Now, so coming to the introduction, first of all, sustainability as default in the choice of the year 2021 and the vision for the year 2030 is to neutralize the impact of artificial intelligence on climate change. 7 years, 3 days, 15 hours, 12 minutes, and 6 seconds. The clock is from Manathan, which shows you the amount of time left to reverse the climate change. Now, this 7 years, 3 days, 15 hours, 12 minutes, and 6 seconds. Let that sink in. On 25th of September 2019, approximately 6 million people across the world protested against the lack of action and ownership by global leaders on climate change. Yet, there are lots of people in the world who does not believe that the climate change is happening. The survey here is done by the Yale School of Environment on the United States of America that shows you that the 12% of the people do not believe in global warming, while the rest 6% believes that it's not going to affect them. But the climate change is real, whether you believe in the science of it or not. It is going to affect you, even though you do not live in the cities that are currently facing wildfires, hurricanes, or are going to get submerged by the year 2050 in water due to climate change. Now, the World Health Organization estimates that if climate change remain unchecked, then from the year 2030 to the year 2050, you will have about 250,000 deaths per year. In fact, there is also research that shows the climate change your mental health. Now, from here onwards, Saurabh will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. So I sort of will be continuing from here. How do we stop this? A lot of people believe a way to decarbonize is to decomputerize. Technology does have a massive impact on climate change. Technology such as AI and Internet of Things has its own carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of our gadgets, the internet, and the systems supporting them account for about 3.7% of global greenhouse emissions. A team at Stanford came up with a tool called GreenAI, which shows you the amount of carbon emissions generated by an artificial intelligent algorithm. According to the tool, a natural language processing algorithm, which is widely used in Alexa and other customer service chatbots, generate about 1400 pounds of carbon emissions. So does this mean we stop making innovations and technologies? Technology has been the one thing that has kept us together in this COVID-19 pandemic. Technology is the way I am communicating my thoughts with you. Technology is the method that we are using the, to online conference our office colleagues and even video chatting our friends and family, or even to get our most basic amenities from online grocery shopping. In fact, the technology is the very same tool that we can use to even spread awareness on climate change. Each tweet, usually post generate about 0.2 grams of carbon emission, and there are about 500 million tweets which go out in a day. Shocked? Well, let me tell you how each tweet gets stored and processed in data centers. These data centers are used for almost everything on internet, from Google searches to Instagram posts, even Netflix and Amazon. To process the tweet and share it with the rest of the world, these data centers run 24/7. Now the energy to run these data centers come from burning of fossil fuels. To give you an idea of the intensity of this, in the year 1916, it was reported that the data centers across the world consumed about 1416.2 terawatts of energy, which was the more than the energy consumption of Britain that year, hence making data centers responsible for 2% of global emissions. Research shows that if data centers continue the way they do, then by the year 2040, they will be responsible for 14% of global emissions, which is equivalent to the emissions of United States of America right now. So how do we fix this? There is a way for us to neutralize the negative impact of technology by using technology for good. The answer is absolutely yes. One of the most common solutions for this problem is to go green, that is to use renewable energy sources to power our data centers instead of fossil fuels. But renewable energy sources come with its own challenges. Challenge number one, they are intermittent in nature. That is, they are not constant 24/7, which leads us to our challenge number two. Can these intermittent sources be able to supply energy for 24/7 running data centers? Also, shifting towards renewable energy is not enough. The energy pyramid that shows you exactly that there is no point of just shifting towards renewable energy. We need to ensure that the systems are also energy efficient and have energy conservation picture. From here, my friend Arindam will be continuing the presentation. Okay.
Thank you so much to both of you, Deepak and Saurav. Now, as Saurav finished at challenges with renewable energy, so let me share you three solutions where artificial intelligence algorithms can be used. So solution number one, artificial intelligence algorithms such as load monitoring can be used with your sensors to manage and track your demand of the data centers. This ensures that the systems in the data center work more efficiently, hence ensuring less amount of energy consumption. In fact, Google has already implemented this and seen a 40% drop in their energy consumption. Solution number two, since we knew renewable energy is not constant in nature, we need to ensure that the demand of the data center is always met by the supply. This can be done by predicting your supply and demand by using the time series forecasting. Solution number three, artificial intelligence algorithms can be used to schedule data processing across the data centers in the world. For example, here in this map, there are some of the Google data centers you can see. Consider these two data centers. Data center one is in USA and data center two is in Asia. So during the morning in Asia, where solar energy is at peak, the data center can run on solar energy and process the data. While during the night, this processing can be shifted to USA, where it is still day and solar energy can be used. Each of these solutions are already implemented, but in small scale. Each of these solutions can reduce the carbon impact by minimum 20 to 60%. These solutions are not only environment friendly, but also budget friendly, since renewable energy is much cheaper than the fossil fuels. So now that we know this solution exists, what do we need to make this happen? We need two things. one for the present and one for the future. Let's start with the present first. Like Bill Gates said, we need climate denominators. We need researchers and scientists, entrepreneurs, engineers who understand the correlation between climate change and technology and create solutions like this. Okay, now coming to the conclusion part for the future, we need reducing carbon impact as one of the core values while developing anything new in technology. This not only applies for the hardware but software as well. Every algorithm that we generate, we need to ensure that the processing takes the least amount of energy, hence ensuring low carbon emission. With this, I leave you with my vision not just for the year 2030, but also beyond it. Progress in technology and mitigating climate change needs to go hand in hand. Neither one of them should happen at the cost of the others. Here, our presentation comes to an end, and I would like to thank our respected teacher and our fellow mates for the wonderful cooperation they had. Thank you all. Okay, here is some of the references that we have followed, that we have taken from different sources like the New York Times, Wikipedia, World Health Organization official website, and Google itself. So thank you all.
Okay, I have one question. Okay, how time series, why time, how time series is used for forecasting, and time series কিভাবে use হচ্ছে forecasting এ?
Time series forecasting. Actually, it has some connect. Oh, what is that? Okay, it has some connection with load monitoring. So to understand the time series forecasting, we have to understand the load monitoring first. So actually, the load monitoring actually implies that keeping track of the demand of the data centers to process every single data. For example, you can say that if today you make only a single post on Facebook and yesterday you made 5 posts, so the amount of load that Facebook data center resisted or monitored yesterday was much more than today. That means yesterday Facebook consumed more power supply to process your post, and not only you, Facebook has millions and millions of users. So more power consumption means more combustion of fossil fuels that leads to contaminate the climate. So if we somehow manage an AI-based approach to monitor the load, then it will be possible for us to reduce the carbon emission. I am giving the example for a single day, but if we track this monitoring process for a time series like 1 month, 2 months, or 1 year, or 2 years, or 10 years, then we can conclude something like how much energy is consumed in last 10 years or last 5 years, and that is known as the time series forecasting. And time series forecasting, you can say, the long-term process of load monitoring, and this is how we track.
Okay. Another thing is that in that case, one disadvantage that data center, Google data center is very less. Okay.
Google data center is very less. Okay, not very less.
Very less. How can they manage all this process?
According to their demand, according to Google's demand, they have enough number of Google data centers. So it is not an impossible task for a tech giant like Google to manage all these things. So
but in your picture only Chile, one is USA, another is Europe.
These locations are used only for referencing purpose. We have not included all the data centers of Google. These are the referencing purpose.
Okay. Very good presentation. Okay, thank you.